Welcome back to the Gold Club World Championship. We just witnessed SPT getting their first 2-0 victory over Beyond the Game. Kaldor was a little sad behind the scenes, rooting for BTG to get their first win.
BTG, I feel they are improving. When you look at their drafts, they're actually getting better. But I think from an execution perspective, especially in the fights on the last map on Sky Temple, they were still lacking a bit. You just can't let an Illidan sit there for that long.
He ran rampant up in that top lane fight.
It looked good. They get the first kill. They actually get two. And then all of a sudden, Illidan turns it around after Abathur loses the copy. And I actually think BTG could have won that fight. I really want them to win a map. It just feels like they deserve one.
Yeah, and you talked about BTG and how important it's been to them to get maximum amount of time practicing with all the best teams around here. So we're hoping still that they'll be able to get a map win.
They definitely have the drive, and they're also playing a lot of Hero League as well. For example, we saw earlier Leoric being played on the last map, and just today we saw their offlaner practicing Hero League quite a bit on the servers as well, just to make sure that he gets into the mindset. They had the plan going into the game. They're putting the time in. It's just like really a matter of, okay, are they going to get throughout the tournament to a point where they can actually start taking maps and games?
Any game with Ominous Wraith will make you a fan, or make Kaldor a fan of you. We've got another match about to start with KSV versus CE. These two teams have actually played versus each other quite a bit in the past months, both at the Eastern Clash and then at BlizzCon. The Eastern Clash, CE did win one map against KSV, but not so much at BlizzCon. It is, both times they didn't have their full roster though, so this is their best chance to be able to get a win here. Yeah,
and right now, once again, KSV just is incredibly confident in their ability to take these games here and also the tournament. We had breakfast with Sake, and he was just talking about how he feels that because they have such a long-standing roster and so much synergy, that they definitely have a huge advantage here in the tournament, even though he immediately also criticized himself for a couple of mistakes that he made in the plays in the past few days, but overall you can really see that this team is here to win.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if we'll see any adjustments from KSV's drafting today. A lot of teams, when approaching the Chinese teams, have tried to focus on macro, but KSV yesterday still very focused on their team fights. We'll see what they want to do versus this team here, CE, the #2 team at the end of HGC China, but the team from China that so far has had the most success versus other regions.
It's actually kind of funny. They don't really win series, but they also don't lose them. They have 3 matches and they have 3 draws so far. And I would actually argue that if they get another draw here today, their 4th, that would already be considered a win. And they took games of strong teams. They took a game of Ballistics, they took a game of Dignitas, and very few actually expected that to happen.
Yeah, it does make me wonder, though, how far that goes. Can they continue with the adjustments necessary to keep that going as other teams power up and figure things out? Team Dignitas, I don't think we're quite aware of what CE would play there, or especially with the Garage when we were talking to them about that. And now people have started to figure them out, a lot like we saw with E-Star at the mid-season brawl. Battlegrounds show us that the draft's just about to start. KSV bans Braxis Holdout, Tomb of the Spider Queen banned by CE, and CE has chosen Towers of Doom for Game 1.
Yeah, so a big map that we have to play here with also a lot of macro potential. And when we're talking about CE and also what you mentioned with Dignitas, we're still in a tournament where a lot of these teams have to figure out their rhythm, especially the Western teams, of course. This is something that we've mentioned from the start, and we can't really expect them to find their final form here. It's all about how much can they actually improve on their way to their final form throughout the tournament. And we're coming, for example, with Dignitas to Poik, who stated outright, hey, I am nervous on stage. I have to just get a bit more experience here. I need to get accustomed to it. I'm not used to it just yet, and it was transparent against CE. Against KSV, the Chinese team can't exploit such a weakness. This is a very seasoned team and one of the strongest, arguably the strongest that we have in the Heroes of the Storm scene. So it's going to be interesting to see how they fare against them here today.
Draft #1 underway with 2 quick picks of CE immediately after KSV get their Grey Main, which has been a mainstay for just about every single map for KSV, and then getting to Haka and Karzium so that they can keep up with that macro game.
Okay, there's so much to talk here about this already. I hope that they slow down in their picks a little bit, because there's actually a lot to touch upon. First of all, we have this high priority on Grey Main, and we've been talking about how a lot of these teams go either into Grey Main or Vala as a sustained damage dealer. But the immediate reaction throughout the tournament that we have seen build up is that if you see a Grey Main, you want to go for Arthas. Arthas has seen higher and higher priority every single time that he goes up against Grey Main, especially if you are faced with an opponent that drafts Grey Main and Karazim. Sometimes to an extent, where you already just pick Arthas because you know that one of the key heroes your opponent is going to pick is Greymane, and you want to force them into a bad matchup. That's why we're seeing Greymane this early for KSV, because they actually know that if they don't... Sorry, why we are seeing Arthas that early for them, because they know if they don't pick him here, CE is very likely going to ban him out, or even pick him themselves, because they have Karazim, who of course also suffers when he's faced with Arthas. So for KSV, that draft is pure gold already.
Yeah, the attack speed slow is going to be scary for Karazim, as is trying to dash in and being a victim to a Howling Blast. CE bans Stukov. That has been a pairing that KSV have shown, but they're fine just playing Arthas even in general. This Arthas play from Tist, I feel, is maybe not on another level from other warriors that we've seen. He plays in a position that is so perfect because he is always setting up for the next kill. He relies on his team to be able to get the kill that they're currently engaged with, and he draws their focus to the next person with his positioning. They play this so incredibly well, and I'm excited to see it here.
I'm excited to see how CS is reacting to what we're currently having on the side of KSV. Because first of all, you made very good points with Arthas. We have Rega, who is also with a panic button of Ancestral Healing, a great tool here. He has the wave clear on the lanes. He's currently the most versatile support that we have in the game. And then you have Greymane. So you can't even threaten Arthas with any kind of one-shot potential through Greymane's Cursed Bullet and the additional follow-up. So CE has to figure that out somehow.
Oh!
It seems like they are going for a kidnap combo here. Stitches and Medivh immediately being picked, and that just screams isolation kill.
Oh yeah, and they already have Karazim too, so now instead of potentially a Palm, seeing the 7-sided strike to follow up after Stitches kidnaps at a target, they have a lot of lockdown to follow up with that too if Dahaka's there to drag someone in, hold them into that place for a little bit longer. And there's really not a ton of escape for the members of KSV that are there so far.
I can really appreciate the thought process here. I am not sure if it's going to be enough against KSV, but I like that they went down that path because I don't know what else there is for them. With the setup that we have for KSV, they are so flexible to adapt to anything that CE throws their way, but the Chinese team says, all right, we are a bit in a pickle here. We still have a solid setup. We have Dehaka, he can run the global, we have Karazim. How do we potentially get a win here? And against KSV, they simply go straight for isolation. They are going to rely on the hooks, on Gorge. Medivh is going to try and keep them alive and also prevent the portal to carry that target just behind the wall or into the hands of Karazim's 7-sided strike. So I love the approach on the side of CE. They're trying to exploit the potential weakness in the draft of KSV, but is it going to be enough? That's the big question. I
do like the Stukov ban even more, knowing that CE wanted to go into such as Medivh. Medivh, you place down a portal, what can Stukov do? Put an arm underneath it, and then you lose a lot of power off of those Medivh portals, so that makes even more sense knowing that they wanted to go into this Stitches and Medivh. One final pick for CE undoubtedly has to be their ranged carry assassin who can make sure to get the damage in. No Greymane available to have the Cursed Bullet off of the Stitches and Medivh, the Kidnapper strategy that Kaldor mentioned. So we'll see what they want to add to that. Maybe a Li Ming as some burst damage from that.
Yeah, it's definitely... Exactly. We need burst damage right now. We need something that can help Karazim to blow the target up. So let's see what CE is going to run with here. Also, we had a pretty good shot of Noblesse, who is the coach and drafter for KSV and has a massive impact on the success of the team. And we have Nazeebo. Okay, welcome to the Witch Doctor. Apparently CE playing also for the late game here.
That is a Roll20, old Roll20 composition, if I've ever seen. Not so much now, but Nazeebo, Medivh, Stitches, and then Karazim Dahaka. Wow, CE bringing out the big guns, or at least the toads and the spiders for Game 1 versus KSV.
I mean, if they can drag the game out, they have a chance here. The problem is that normally when you're... There is a reason why these compositions aren't really used anymore. We had for a long time Nazeebo, for example, paired with Ragnaros, because Ragnaros with Molten Core is in a fantastic position to negate objectives that your opponent captures, so you can prolong the game. That allows Nazeebo to hit level 20 and his power spikes. But the reason why that isn't as common anymore, one of the reasons is that a lot of teams are now very, very good exploiting the early game weaknesses and make sure that you don't hit that point anymore, or you hit it so late that you already established massive leads in the game. So CE I like it though. It's an interesting approach. It's not something where I would have said, okay, this is where they're going to go. but they obviously had a plan heading into this, and I can appreciate that.
I can appreciate it too. We didn't really get to touch on the Chromie and Brightwing so much as the final 2 picks for KSV, but KSV is seasoned against this kind of composition. If I'm not mistaken, the Stitches Medivh was ran by Fnatic in the Grand Finals of BlizzCon in the final Battleground, and they used Chromie with the slowing sands. It's all about keeping Stitches from being able to get to the portal and run away with one of their targets, but Brightwing, she also has Emerald Wind, so that gives some more isolation potentially away from those portals. The music is going, which means we're ready for game 1.
And game 1 on the left side, we have KSV Black, our Korean team here, so far doing extremely well in the tournament. And at this point, Tist on Arthur's reset. On Chromie, we have Rich on Greymane, Kyoja on Rega, and the second support played by Sake. He's going to be on Brightwing.
10 seconds.
In the red, CE.
5,
The Kidnapper strats. Paradise playing Dahaka, KTY on Medivh. Luful playing his Kharazim, known for that one. Shu on Nazeebo, and finally Wind will be playing Stitches.
I'm really looking towards CE now. They have a composition that definitely follows a very clear train of thought. The question is, for me it's interesting because Chinese teams are normally really known to be insanely aggressive. And right now the big question is, can they play this out? But look at Kyoja
They
goes
sure can.
down. We have CE with the first kill in the game, 20 seconds in. Rega a bit surprised by that hook.
When you have a Stitches, you gotta hit the hooks,
Yeah.
and Wind showing us that he can do just that.
Christmas came early for CE, and they run also the proper skin on Stitches for that.
That they are. CE is running, at least for now, what we're seeing as the Toad build with Pandemic at level 1. China's teams that play Nazeebo are known for a lot of build diversity. It's not just going to be the Widowmakers and the standard Spider build, and there have been some changes as of late to make this build even better. So we'll see just how much they want to build into that, but do know that this is very normal to see from the Chinese teams.
It kind of makes me laugh also a little bit to just see Nazeebo here because, well, we have all the players here with tournament accounts, but a lot of them still have to level a couple of heroes so that they can also play Hero League and Ranked. And one of the things that Smexy, for example, was run Nazeebo to get to that point, and he ended up in a game with 8,000 hit points on the hero, which was very fun to watch. I don't think we're going to get to that point in this game, but it still makes me smile a little
You
bit.
never know. We'll see if hopefully our observer can just let us know how he's doing with his voodoo ritual.
He was so excited. He's like, look at me. I have more hit points than Diablo.
I am taking Nazeebo now. Hear me roar.
Frontline boys.
A little bit of a scuffle over the top sappers. Interesting that KSV has made the approach of going up to the top. That will give them some pressure in the top lane. Shiyu doing his best to bring down Reset, uses the zombies as a body block.
Look
and
at
with
that.
Wind there too, they get another kill.
They get the second kill here. Now Shiyu needs to be a bit careful because Tist is out for blood and moves in. Brightwing also going to help out, and that's the counter kill here as Nazeebo falls. But overall, still valiant effort by CE. Having a bit of body blocks going on here, but Tist isn't actually out of it yet, and that hook nearly connected, but it's blocked by a minion first.
Tist is an actual beast in how he plays Arthas. I am amazed by it every single time I watch it. Both the teams traded out on their altars in the top lane, KSV with the better positioning, at least for now, but Medivh can try to mess up those plans with a well-placed portal.
There's a lot of blow-up potential on the side of KSV after a good lockdown with the Howling Blast. You have Cursed Bullet then later on coming into play, and Chromie's damage of course as well. But CE is playing a very solid early game given their composition. And I'm actually curious here, because with a couple of good moves, they could definitely put the Korean team into a very precarious situation.
Zombie Wall did catch Paradise. Beautiful burrow to make sure to not get hit by that Dragon's Eye. Rich gets pulled in. A lot of damage to follow up there with the Luful. That's the beauty of having a Kharazim. But Reset, he's going to hit these skill shots. Expect him to hit these skill shots. K2I, not the target from that, but KSV do get the altar.
Yeah, Sake channels the altar through, and that's the second one in favor of KSV, so they get a slight lead in the hit points on the core here. But overall, we still have to state that in the late game, CE is going to hit their power spikes, and if after 10 they get these hooks and a gorge, they can get kills, and every single one here counts. If they can prolong the game, it's going to work in their favor in the end.
I think the most important thing is that CE can't get so focused on getting those kills, getting the isolation blow up on one target, that they start missing out on the macro. And that is a great reason for why they still have Paradise playing that Dahaka, so that they don't go and spend so much time getting one one pick from KSV that the rest of KSV can just push in lanes, start to take down towers, start to get sapper camps, and whittle away at those bell towers. It is a common theme that you often see with this kind of strategy is that you have to make sure that you're getting those kills in a way that you can do something with it, not just get this one random isolation in a way that your opponents can just wait for that person to respawn.
Yeah, and there's also a couple of other points with the composition they are running here. Nazebo is, of course, amazing in the late game with his power spike, and he can dish out a lot of damage in these team fights too. But especially if you're running a tilt build, you put out a lot of damage against structure. So if they can at any point in the mid and late game bring that into play, they have a good shot here of putting pressure on the KSV. But now, for now at least, it's the other way around. It's KSV with the bell tower up at the top. Good portal allowing Paradise for now to move back, but the threat is not over yet. Aloof Fool also pretty low. KSV now controls 5 bell towers on the map compared to the 3 for CE.
It's been really cool to see KSV to make the adjustment against a Nazebo to focus on this top lane. Nazebo stalls out waves and sappers, gives a lot of time to be able to kill those things with the zombie wall. So instead, keeping Chromie there, she can just stall out the waves, take them out quickly with her Dragon's Eye, and then they go and focus on that top sapper camp. Here's a portal. Sake is in a lot of danger here. Let's see if he can make it out. Nope. Great drag. Sake goes down.
Yeah, the tongue connects. They give up the altar at the bottom, so that's 5 shots against CE score. They realized already that it would be rough for them to make a play down here, and they needed to reactive right wing up at the top. So they get a kill at least and keep fairly even in experience for now. But these moves that we're seeing from CE are pretty well coordinated, and I like that quite a bit. That gives me a bit of hope for the Chinese team here. And another great hook connecting against Tis. They immediately try to block with the zombie wall, but it's Medivh who gets trapped instead. Alooful moves in as well, but Arthur still survives. Valiant effort, though.
You can see the slowing sands right around the portal, and that's just a hint of what's to come once CE get to heroic abilities and try to get someone out with the Gorge and the portals. KSV, quick rotation, still giving them a lead. CE haven't been able to take back their bell tower in the top lane, and now KSV can start working on other lanes, see what advantage they can get somewhere. If they pull all of CE down to the bottom lane, well, that's fine. They make sure that they keep that top bell tower. They can still rotate up and push in the lanes and keep an experience advantage and have that for bonus shots when the next altar phase starts.
Yeah, and as we said before, CE is heavily relying on these hooks and these isolation kills that they're aiming for, whereas KSV is now taking control of the map. They're really trying to just simply get the camps. We have Greymane active all the way up at the top again with another camp that he takes here to put more pressure onto CE's core, who now finally have level 10. So here comes the 7-sided strike. We have Gorge, so we are finding ourselves in this situation where CE can go and try for these kills. Paradise in a bit of trouble up at the top, but survives for now. Has to stall out those pumpkins though as they are making their way over. Alooful is finally arriving to help him out, and we still see Stitches coming in. A good hook or a Gorge simply walking up to them would help a lot here.
Yeah, the portal is down, doesn't have 13 yet, so you're not going to have that quickening from that.
Yeah, they have to be really careful. KSV moving past that bell tower. If that hook connects and you find yourself in the death zone, you are a guaranteed kill. So they already moved back, go for the towers here, but we are still in a situation where 5 bell towers are held by KSV. So CE, here comes the Gorge, is trying to go in. They need the 7-sided, they need the kill, but there are too many already. Leyline being used, and this is not going well for CE so far. Ancestral comes through, Rich alive, and KSV tries to turn it around.
Sitting right on top of so many members of CE, finally goes in, forcing Alooful to go into 7-sided strike just to avoid dying to all of the damage of KSV following up. CE lives, but KSV, with the zoning that they had, get yet another altar and are moving in to take another one, 36-22 in the core health.
And again, CE wants the late game, and KSV is very unwilling to give it to them. They are firing shot after shot against the core of the Chinese team, and that's another 10 in total that we just saw over this round of objectives. CE actually, I mean, the Gorge against Growing was great, and Stitches must have felt amazing. He's like, boys, I got her. The problem is, portal's on cooldown. The other end of the portal ends up in 2 additional players of KSV. So that isolation 7-sided that you're looking for is just not happening. The damage is split between 3 heroes if you go for it, and you just can't confirm the kill here. It was a bit of an unfortunate timing for them. They tried to salvage it somehow, setting the ley line up, but there was not really the damage follow-up they needed. So CE is losing both of the altars, and that's 10 shots against their core with them not even getting a kill.
Yeah, and that's just great understanding on KSV's part to know that they need to watch both ends of the portal. Don't let Chromie go by herself in there. Now Chromie has timeout, so it's going to get even harder and harder for that to be the target. There are still some targets possible if CE can land those hooks. CE, the best thing for them is that they are very close in experience, and they have a Stitches. They always can win something off of a hook. It's just not quite been there yet, and every time Tish shows up, he hits a lot of people getting them in the slow.
Yeah, here we go. Stitches in a bit of trouble as KSV says, you know what, we can isolate people too. Here comes Brightwing with the Emerald Wind, but Wind is able to move out still. Down to the bot lane, the mage battle with Chromie going up against the Zebo, but up here at the top, a drag connects as Paradise moves in with the tongue, and we still have Gorge available. If Win can move up and get that Gorge, that would be fantastic for them, but KSV walks away once more.
Tried for the hook, tried for that Gorge, 2 altars activating in 12 seconds, and CE is running out of time. 17 core health is all that remains, and if they want that late game, they're going to have to start claiming some of these altars. Hook does connect. Tist is right there, though, in the slowing sands, but he's still able to make it through the portal. Unfortunately, though, for them, it's Rich. In comes Brightwing, there goes a disengage, and Rich is just fine.
Rich just moved immediately out of the 7-sided, just nearly no damage on him, and with Greymane surviving, that is just a death sentence for CE. They're still trying to make a bit of a play here, but as you said, we have the Chinese team running out of time. It is Towers of Doom, where the late game matters more than anything else, but the problem is that they are really just, I mean, if they lose both of these bell towers now, and it looks like they will because Stitches is already dead, then they will be down to just simply 8 points on 9 points on the clock.
Yeah, this has been a really difficult execution for CE with all of the slows, all of the control with this composition that they have, trying to actually just execute the isolation. KSV continuing to channel, Toads are coming in, but don't get there in time. And another altar claimed by KSV. This is setting the core after these 4 shots dangerously low to CE.
Yeah, KSV plays this just incredibly well. It's a little bit unfortunate for CE that with the Gorge they had, they just did not get an immediate drag afterwards, so they couldn't really lock Rich down. If they get a quick lockdown in the entire 7-sided hit, that's a guaranteed kill, and that's what they're looking for. So if they get the kill there, it's a 5 versus 4, and they are very likely to grab both of these altars, which would put pressure onto the Korean team and buy time for them. So the idea behind the draft is not bad. It just doesn't really work out as intended because KSV is playing this so well. But once again, the attempt to go for the Gorge. They try to go for the kill. Rich, this time he might fall, but no, the Ancestral is there. CE just doesn't have that follow-up stun.
There's no follow-up stun, and also the zombie wall was misplaced. He came out on the other side of the zombie wall. Rich has escaped to be able to get away from that. That has to be a perfected style of strategy without any follow-up stuns to be able to make this work for CE, and this has happened now for them a couple of times. The pull in Rich with a hook takes a lot of damage because of the kill zone.
Even just having a ley line seal to make sure that Rhaegar does not get the Ancestral through would be something I love. So there is definitely a lack of coordination after the successful Gorge. If they get a good drag, if they get a good zombie wall, an isolation, anything on that, they will confirm the kill. But so far, they haven't really been able to do that. Another attempt here by Win, but this time the timeout prevents the worst from KSV's perspective. They have CE down to 9 points on the core already and claimed another bell tower at the bottom, whereas Greymane is actually fighting all the way up at the top with the Haka.
Yeah, the problem for CE is their follow-up stun after hook is drag if they don't land the zombie wall. And because CE has fallen so far behind in this game, all they can do to rely on, or all they can rely on is having Dahaka to keep them in this game so they still always have chances to fight. Here, though, here's a lucky break. They take back that bell tower. It's a triple altar phase, which is, they have to get in there for this, but they do have 16 for this.
Exactly, they have 16, and I mean, at this point, they're going for Slam with Stitches. They're really trying to slow him down. It's extra damage on Karazim as well with a way of 100 fists here, so they can use that. 2 shots are exchanged, and it's going to be a final fight over the last remaining altar here. So CE has 5 points against 32, but it's the late game that CE is fighting for, and they have a talent advantage now.
They do. KSV still willing to go for this, at least for now, as all members are funneling in onto CE.
They're heavily aggressive with this right now. Here comes the lockdown against, a 7-sided used as well. And we have CE in a bit of trouble, but they're still moving out. Paradise survives. Here comes the isolation. They're trying to go for Brightwing, but the Ancestral comes through mid deep on the other hand. He dies, and he's not alone. Karazim and Azebo follow suit shortly after.
Really good cleanse on Brightwing, as Sake was pretty far up there. KSV going for the 5th and final kill to take down CE and wipe the team. They'll get that, waiting for the altar, of course, so that they can get this bell tower and send CE packing in game 1.
Yeah, Rich. Would have been kind of funny if he dies to the bell tower, at least. If I was Saki, I would have just let him die just for the lols.
Hello, there's KDA to consider.
Yeah, that's exactly why we would have let him die. So at this point, I mean, KSV, incredibly solid game. So they take the bell tower, they get the last remaining shots in, and that is the lead in the series with a 1-0. I still don't hate what CE did here. I like the thought process behind it. You go up against the favorite in the tournament, against the strongest team by far, and you try to find some way to deal with them. KSV starts off with a solid 1-2-3 into the draft from their pick perspective, so they had to do something. Stitches is always a really cool game changer if you play that style. Throwing the Zebo in as well, with a bit of better coordination after the hook in the gorge, I think they can make plays here.
Yeah, I think they could have done that too. You could clearly see where they were going. That's very nice to see from the drafting phase there, but a lot of great adjustments from KSV, both in the draft by getting that Chromie again, which has proven to work really well for them versus that style of strategy, and then also going for the top sappers so that they could start that phase and try to get the early game, as many shots as they could in the early game, knowing again that CE want to get to that late game and they want to be able to make it to where they get those power spikes. So being able to do that, being able to control that, it's just a really good trend that you can take away from this game, is that you really need to recognize what your opponents are wanting out of a draft and don't give it to them.
Exactly. What CE wanted to do is sit back, wait for the hook, get an isolation kill. So the thing that KSV immediately did is they took control of the map. They said, if we push in, if we take the camps, we put pressure on them. They claimed an early bell tower at the top, for example, putting additional pressure onto CE, and try to make sure that they were always in a really uncomfortable spot. CE had still a lot of chances to make those plays. They had Rich twice and could have potentially killed him. Even the Gorge against Chromie, if the portal is not on cooldown at that moment and they get really a good isolation on her, that's another confirmed kill. So that game could have swung the other way, but KSV was just a bit too good in the execution and also getting these Ancestrals in to keep Rich alive.
Yeah, I felt like they were almost like, let's give Dahaka busy work. Let's make him have to keep up in this top lane by getting this early bell tower, scaring you about those sappers, and then also because of how much they were controlling, Dahaka did keep CE in the game, but they also just weren't quite able to get the kills necessary to get that turning point of getting the comeback on Towers of Doom that you can go for as an option, but you really have to be able to play that out.
Yeah, Rich being the MVP here as well, he not only did he get the kills, but he also escaped numerous times after the hook, so a solid performance here by him. And yeah, KSV takes the lead in the series.
To be